So, His Holiness, Bhakti Pravava Swami, can we get a round of applause for... So he's come to visit us. He's actually from, he was born in Brussels in Belgium. I actually have met him before in Radhadesh, where I lived for many years, Hare Krishna. It's one of our castle temples in Belgium, a must-see if anyone goes to Europe. Please go. So he joined the devotees in 1960, and then in Ghent, I believe. And from 1992 to 1996, he was active in the Namahata preaching in Ghent. It's a northern area of Belgium. And joined the Radhadesh temple in 1996. In 1994, he met His Holiness Bhakti Swami, if anyone's familiar, one of our great senior leaders of ISKCON, who accepted him as a disciple and gave him initiation. And then following second initiation, shortly after, and then in 2015, he was awarded sannyas initiation by Bhakti Swami. So he is going to be giving us a lecture, a spiritual discourse today. The topic is Krishna's spiritual care plan for his devotees. So I will leave you with the...
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Givaradari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Givaradari Yasodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yamunatera Vanachari Yamunatera Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Givaradari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Givaradari Yasodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yamunatera Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari. So we will be reading from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, the most confidential knowledge, text 31. Before we read from the Bhagavad Gita, we glorify the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna, with the following words. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I first recite the Sanskrit and then the translation, followed by the commentary by Abhaycharnavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Kshipram bhavati sarmartma sarvashantim nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Commentary. This should not be misunderstood. In the 7th chapter, the Lord says that one who is engaged in mischievous activities cannot become a devotee of the Lord. One who is not a devotee of the Lord has no good qualities whatsoever. The question remains then, how can a person engaged in abominable activities, either by accident or by intention, be a pure devotee? The question may justly be raised. The miscreants, as stated in the 7th chapter, who never come to devotional service of the Lord, have no good qualifications. As is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, generally a devotee who is engaged in the 9 kinds of devotional activities is engaged in the process of cleansing all material contamination. Is engaged in the process of cleansing all material contamination from the heart. So that's the condition. He puts the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, and all sinful contaminations are naturally washed away. Continuous thinking of the Supreme Lord makes him pure by nature. According to the Vedas, there is a certain regulation that if one falls down from his exalted position, he has to undergo certain ritualistic processes to purify himself, but here there is no such condition, because the purifying process is already there in the heart of the devotee, due to his remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly. Therefore, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare should be continued without stoppage. This will protect the devotee from all accidental fall downs, and he will thus remain perpetually free from all material contamination. So I read the verse once again. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma sasvashantim nigacchati Kaunteya padijanihi nami bhakta pranashyati. It quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Om Ajnanatimandasya Chananjana Shanakya Saksvan Militam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhuttale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namini Namaste Saraswata Deve Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Desatarine Srila Prabhupada Ki. So Srila Lord Krishna at the conclusion of the Gita says, Sarva dharmam parityaya mamakam saram vacham tvam sarva papayo mokshaishyami machucha. He says, just surrender unto me, follow my instructions, and then I will take care of all your sinful reactions. I will take care of you spiritually. But you have to follow his main instructions, and that he gave in the verse before. What's the main instruction? Manmana, always think of me. What happens when we think of Krishna? When we hear his holy name, we become absorbed in hearing his holy name. We become absorbed in seeing the deity. What's happening? That then it spiritualizes our mind. That when you have Krishna in your mind, it is antiseptic. That means it purifies the heart of lust, anger, greed, and so on, which Krishna says these are three gates to hell. Because these three gates, they cause in our consciousness attachment and aversion, likes and dislikes. I like what's good for the body, what's good for the mind, what feels good. And I don't like what gives me pain. And we think we are the body. And we think the happiness of the body is everything. But manmana, we become purified. And we start to realize we are not a body. We are a servant of Krishna. We are eternal. Our consciousness is eternal. But it's now contaminated. So manmana, when you think of Krishna, you become purified. What happens? Bhava mad bhakto, you become his devotee. And when we become his devotee, what do? Madhyayi, you worship Krishna. That mam namaskuru, you offer your respect to Krishna. Now, in that process, if we say to Krishna, I'm yours and I'm going to follow your instructions, I'm going to try to think always of you. And what's the method? The best method for this age is always chanting his holy names. What happens if we become serious in becoming Krishna's devotee? Krishna says in this verse today, Name Bhaktya Pranachati. Pranashati, my devotee will never perish. In a few verses before 9:22, he said, Ananya Sintyantamam Yechna Payapashte Tesam Nitya Bhayuktyam Yogaksema Famyam. Krishna says, if you always fix your mind on me, without deviation, you do that, then I carry what you need and I protect what you have. Interesting. What does he protect? He protects our spiritual advancement that we already made. And he will make arrangements that we make more and more advancement. Even if we don't know really how it will happen. Even if we come in difficulty. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam there are many examples about that. And that show how Krishna takes care of you. And the first example is Bharat Maharaj. In the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, from chapters 7 to 10, the whole story of Bharat Maharaj is explained. And Bharat Maharaj was a great king. Factually, India is called Bharat. It's got the name of Bharat Maharaj. So it's a very famous king in Indian history. But the Vedic kings, they knew, yes, I'm ruling as a representative of God, and I have to engage the people in activities that lead to devotional service. They knew that. And that was their purpose of governing. But the Veda says, once you have the age of 50, you must retire and preparing for the next life, to prepare your consciousness to connect completely with the divine, with Krishna, Manmana. But this was many, many years ago. And many, many years ago, many ages ago, people were living longer and they were more peaceful. It was another age. And they could, and Bharat Maharaj, as the Vedas prescribed, he put his son on the throne and went to the forest to do austerities and meditation. That's quite a heavy step. A king, as a king, he had so many queens, he had all the wealth, all what people desire in this world, and he gave everything up. That's quite a renunciation. And he went to the forest, meditating. And he was meditating, and he became completely peaceful. And as the yogis, the goal of the yogis is described in Bhagavad Gita, Shitatmana Prashantasma Paramatma Samaita. So by their breathing exercises, Astanga Yoga, their consciousness becomes completely purified from lust. And being purified, Paramatma Samaita, they see Krishna in the heart. But Bharat was a devotee, and he was the highest yogi. The highest yogi in Bhagavad Gita is described in 647. Yoginam apasarvanam ghatmanantaratmanam shradamam vachate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. The highest yogi, Krishna says, is one who is intimately united with me in the heart, in love with me. And he came to that platform that he felt love for Krishna in the heart. It started to begin awaken. But he was in the forest. And suddenly, a beautiful deer appeared before him. A beautiful deer. And suddenly, there was the roar of a lion, very frightening. And the deer became frightened and jumped away. And while she jumped away, she gave birth to a baby deer. But the deer disappeared. And there, this baby deer was helpless. And Bharat, he was a Kshatriya, a great king. And kings, what is their duty? To protect others. Kshatriya. Kshatriya means one who protects others. And he saw that helpless baby deer with beautiful eyes looking at him. And so he was thinking, if it was lying in the river, if I don't save it, it will go with the river and die. So he took it from the river and started to feed it. And he started to take care of this baby deer. But he became quite attached to it, and he forgot his spiritual practice. He deviated from his spiritual practice. He did his meditation and his rituals, but inside he was always thinking of the deer, that he was playing with the deer, fondling it. But then death does not wait for no man, and death came. And when the time of dying came, then the deer was not there, and he was in anxiety about the deer. Where is the deer? And he left his body, and in his next life, he get the body of a deer. So that shows different things. He got a body, he took birth as a deer, but Krishna gave him the remembrance of his previous life. He remembered in the body of the deer everything from his previous lives, from his previous life, all what happened. That was Krishna's mercy. But he was in the body of a deer. And he remembered everything what happened and went back to the ashram, Pulaha ashram, where he was doing these austerities and was listening about Krishna from the sages, waiting for the time to leave again his body. And then he left again, the soul left the body, and he took birth as a son of a Brahmin. And he again remembered his previous lives. But now he said he was afraid. He learned his lesson. He became afraid of the material energy. If we become too much attached to anything in this world, it's very dangerous, attachment to things in this world. Therefore, we must learn to dovetail our attachment, always link it with Krishna, always. And it shows also the danger. When he was so elevated, he gave everything up, his kingdom, everything, which is very difficult to do. And he got elevated spiritually, and then he became attached again. Just a deer. Sometimes people have dogs and so on, and they become attached to it. It's quite dangerous. That spiritually, it's a danger. But then he became the son of a Brahmin, and as the son of a Brahmin, he neglected his family, the whole world. Now he didn't want to have to do anything with the world. He learned his lesson. He was always internally thinking of Krishna and became very careful. Anyway, later he met a king, King Rahugana, and instructed him in spiritual knowledge. He became a great devotee, and after that he went back to the spiritual world. But we can see here how Krishna takes care of his devotee. He gave him remembrance of his previous lives so that he would learn his lesson. But we don't have to go to this. We can learn in different ways. Srila Prabhupada gives 3 ways of learning. The first way of learning is, I'm hearing that stealing is bad. So I refrain from stealing. I'm not doing it. The second way of learning is second class. I hear stealing is bad. But then I see someone who is arrested for theft. Okay, I understood now. I'm not going to do it. And the third way of learning is, I'm hearing that stealing is bad. I see someone is arrested. but I have first to be arrested myself before I learn. So the first class way to learn is hearing, and therefore we have the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Purana, where all the spiritual principles are explained. And if we hear daily the Bhagavatam, then we become aware of all these dangers. And we are protected. We protect our consciousness. But if we don't have time to hear this Bhagavatam and all these things, that we just want to chant and come to the Sunday feast, good. But how is your heart going to become purified? Then Krishna will make arrangements just for you, to make you purified. Things will happen in your life. And we see that in the Bhagavatam and many other stories, that there's a story of Ajamil, who was a Brahmin in his youth, a Paka Brahmin, but he became attracted to a prostitute. And he gave up his spiritual practice and engaged in sinful activities, in stealing and so on. And even if in his old age, he was more than 80, and he had a son of 5 years old. So you can imagine that his attachment. But by Krishna's mercy, he gave his son a name of Krishna, Narayan. And then he called out his son Narayan at the moment that he was overwhelmed with pain and was going to leave his body. And then he had a near-death experience. In that near-death experience, there is a conversation between Vishnu Dutas and Yamadutas. Vishnu Dutas are representatives of Krishna from the spiritual world, and the Yamadutas, they drag the soul of sinful persons out of the body and prepare the soul for his next body, which is not so good. But then, because he chanted his holy name of Narayan, his heart became pure, just by chanting this name. And he had his near-death experience, and there was a conversation between Vishnu Dutas and Yamadutas. And during that conversation, he heard, yes, the Yamadutas said, we will take this sinful soul. So many, he has performed theft, murder, so many sinful activities. And so his engagements with the prostitute. So we will take him away to punish him. And the Vishnu Dutta said, no, you don't know the religious principles. His heart has become pure, but that you cannot take him. And there was a whole discussion. And finally, he got 3 blessings from Krishna, how he takes care of him. The first blessing is, he saw these Vishnu Duttas at the moment of his near-death experience. They have the same form of Krishna. He could not forget Krishna anymore. And the second blessing is, his life was prolonged. He had normally to die. And the third benediction Krishna gave him is that he understood his sinful activities and he decided, I will never do it again. And I will now practice seriously the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Eat only prasad and go to the Himalayas and perform austerities there and prepare for the next life. So he understood, and at the end of his life he went back to the spiritual world. So that was the care plan for Ajamila, which is quite different from Bharat Maharaj. That also in our movement we see that sometimes devotees come to live in the temple and practice for a few years, but then they go away and they go back to their old ways. We used to call that they blooped. So the devotees visited such a devotee who blooped, and after 2 years, and said, "How are you doing?" And he said, "I'm really doing my best to forget Krishna, but he always comes back into my mind." He could not forget him. So that is Krishna's mercy, Krishna's plan. When we come under his protection, then Krishna will assure we become purified according to, in the way we need. So that is a very personal plan. And Krishna has a plan for all of us, but we must be serious to make spiritual advancement. If we are serious and we chant Hare Krishna and we hear about Krishna and we worship the deity, and we want to love Krishna, then Krishna will make a plan so that we can go back home, back to Godhead as quick as possible. Then there is no birth, death, old age, and disease anymore. Only Ananda, loving relationships with Krishna and his associates. So thank you very much. There are any question maybe? Just 2-3 minutes.
Yeah, we can have a question possibly, yeah? Raise your hand and I can give you this mic.
Yeah, there is there a question.
Oh, so far.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. And thank you for the wonderful lecture. Speaking about Krishna's plan, I have a question. If our karma is also included in Krishna's plan and the way we live our karma, like we have karma as well.
Oh, that's a good point. That it depends. Like the Pandavas, they suffered a lot, but that was not due to their past activities, because they were already pure in heart. But it was Krishna's plan. Krishna wanted them to give the example for others, and therefore they agreed to do that. But karma, and that's interesting, we have our karma, and sometimes Krishna decides not to change our karma, but he uses the karma to give us an experience by which we understand our mistakes and we rectify it. So our karma becomes part of an education that Krishna gives us, and that's very interesting. That I've heard some astrologers saying, it seems to me that the karma of devotees, that it doesn't change, but it is different. The experience from what we are going to is different. The people who are not against Krishna or atheist, they just suffer. They don't learn anything. They don't learn anything from it. Yeah, they learn frustration, but the devotee learns, yes, that is not what Krishna wants me to do. I have to give it up. So that's life becomes an education for a devotee. That, because there is also the following. Someone asked Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, will Krishna test us? And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, Krishna will test it. And then the devotee said, and will the test become more and more severe? And Srila Prabhupada said, no. Once you pass the test, you pass the test. So Krishna uses your karma so that we can pass the test. But once we have passed, you will not suffer anymore, even from the so-called karma. Because most of the suffering is in the mind because of our attachment. If you think, this is my car, I suffer. But someone makes a little scratch on the car, on your car, you feel the pain because it's my car. But if it's another car and there is a frontal collision, you don't care. It happens every day. So it's attachment go and no suffering. Does that help? Good. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Thank you so much, Bhakti Prabhava Swami. Can we get another round of applause for his class? So next, I'll give a few announcements, and then we'll have our delicious dinner prasadam. So tonight's prasadam was cooked by our own Dwarkanath Prabhu. Round of applause, please. Thank you. Dwarkanath Prabhu and family, of course. It takes many people to cook for this crowd. Our feast was sponsored anonymously, and you are welcome to sponsor feasts if you don't know that. You can go to the front desk and see our helpful devotee there who can help you sponsor a feast or garlands or other things for occasions or birthdays, etc. Yeah? Okay, a couple events this summer. Who heard about our Rath Yatra festival yet? Raise your hands and clap. Go. Those clap, you can't do both. Do both. Okay, it sounds like most of you, but I'm going to remind you for those that don't know. Rath Yatra is July 15th and 16th. That's Saturday, Sunday. So we bring our deities just here, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, onto big carts, take them through Yonge Street, Yonge Street, all the way to the water. Then we go on the ferry to Center Island and do a whole festival there. So you'll see many familiar faces. A lot of us are on that committee that are helping run the festival, so we want to see all of you there. Bring your family, bring your friends. Lots of things going on, cultural program, of course a free feast, etc. What else is going on this summer? We have every Sunday between 4:30 and 6 p.m. downstairs, we have our Bhakti Vriksha course. Has anyone been attending that program? Yeah, a few. Great, awesome, thank you. So those are free and open for registration. There is a way to do that. You can just walk downstairs on Sundays, come at 4:30, and you can figure it out then. And then also, of course, the Sunday Fun School is for ages 3 to 17. And you can see Gita Mataji. It's all of the information's on our website, but also there's some information on the bulletin board when you just walk outside of this door. There's information. Also our darshan schedule. Some of you maybe come during the week. We have our darshan schedule when the altar is open, etc. Please look on the bulletin board. And then the last thing is our Sweet Rice Festival is next Sunday. Regular time. I don't believe it's an extended program at this point, but we'll have lots of exciting things going on. The children are doing some kind of performance, I believe, so please attend next Sunday. Okay, and then about our Sunday prasadam dinner. So we have until 8 p.m. sharp. That's when the altar opens again. You'll see that. And the way it works is we don't eat in front of the deities, so that's why you'll see me personally, usually, coming around, wrapping everyone up. So if you can please eat your prasadam and dispose of it at the trash center, just also where you will see me at the left-hand side over here outside in the hallway. By 8 p.m., that would be amazing. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.